Welcome back, everybody. We're going to do a re-gear on a really nice Chevelle. So stick with us and we'll walk you through it and we'll make sure we get this right. Enjoy. Let's see here. Daisy. I'm gonna hang this out of the way. Over here, I guess. I like to mark stuff like this so they go on the same side, because this rotor and these pads, they've already worn together, so you want to put them back together the same. You know, you don't want to mix up driver's side with passenger side. So just put a D on there for driver's side. I do that with the axles and everything too. You know, some axles are identical, like on this 12 bolt, they're the same axles, same part number, but I'd still put them on the same sides they came out of. But on this build, we're going to fresh axles. Honestly, I don't know why, because these are already upgraded axles. These are Yukon Chromalis. And I don't know why this guy wants to go with the new axles, but we're going to do it. I'm going to leave that top one in. It's going to loosen it. goes. He broke the seal. We're going to check the gear pattern on this with some paint, just to see what how good the guy before me got it. We're going to check to see if there's any ID marks on these caps. I see 2 punch marks over here. Not seeing anything, no punch marks on the housing yet. Doesn't mean they're not there though. There's a single punch mark over here. Do that one again. There we go. Well, I'm going to disconnect that drive shaft, make things a little simpler to spin around and move. It's going to come apart anyways. Might as well do it now. Well, I didn't want to bore you with the drive shaft stuff, because I figured most of you guys are all beyond that. You know how to do a drive shaft removal if you're going to attempt to do a differential work. But I just want to throw one tip out there. I know a lot of you probably already do this. Tape the U-joints. As soon as you get it apart, tape them. That way the caps don't fall out, hit the floor, and you got those roller bearings, those needle bearings all over. That's always a mess. Come on, baby. Try to compress that slip yoke. There we go. Don't trust those caps to stay on. Oh great, I got my gloves on and I can't do my tape. Hard to get that tape started without your fingernails. There we go. Oh, there we go, right there. That's what you want. Get a few wraps on that bad boy. A little preventive maintenance right there. Well, not so much maintenance, but preventive. Let's put it that way. Okay, next thing we gotta do is gotta pull out that. Looks like a 1/2 inch. Yes, it is. That's a pin. That's a pin bolt. So it'll release this center pin for us. so we can get the spider gears out, so we can get out the C-clips. There you go, that's what that bad dog looks like. Okay, we just push out the pin. Got that boy over there. Here's the end of the axle right here. There's a C-clip. You can see it in there. It looks like kind of like a rust colored. I'm gonna push that axle inward, and it should expose that C-clip. There we go. It's almost falling out. There we go. There's one. Let's do the other side. Same way. Axles should pull right out now. Let's look at that. We're going to check the last guy's homework here. We do Backlash first. He's about 15 thousandths Backlash. He's out of spec. I could tell it was loose by jiggling it. I just didn't know exactly how far, but that's pretty far out of spec. Especially with a car with this much horsepower. Okay, I'm going to spin this ring and pinion with a drill motor. It might be off camera, the drill motor, but trust me, it'll be spinning it. And reverse direction so you can get the other side of the tube. Second here. There goes my other. There's a thrust washer, a spider gear. This is not a good pattern at all. We're running off the toe. The pattern's not centered. I'll get the camera in a little closer here, get a better look at her. We're running completely off the top of the tooth. We're running off the toe. and we're off center. So most of the tooth, a lot of the tooth is running off up to the right hand side over by the toe, and on the, yeah, this is not a good pattern. And the coast side, just the exact opposite. We got a heel toe. Oops, my tripod is falling. We're running off the heel over here. Oh, that thing came out really easy. That's not enough bearing preload right there. See that? That's just too easy. Needs more shims on both sides. We're gonna make sure we do a better job than that. Trying to keep track of what shims went on which side. That way it gives you an idea of what they did. Kind of gives you a starting point to work from. In this case, it's not much of a starting point because it was pretty far off. So, 0.23. We're 232 thousandths total thickness. This is the passenger side. And I'll keep track of all the changes I do. I'll just bring them right on down like that. That way I know exactly where I started from and where I'm going. 256 thousandths. This is some thick shims. There we go. That's where I start. Any changes I do, I document them as I go. Every time I pull that carrier and do a change, I'm going to write it down. That way I know where to adjust, where to put back to get my backlash correct, and so forth. Okay, we got the yoke off. Yeah, it came out a little too easy. Wonder why the bearing pressed off so easily. I wonder if they used a setup bearing in there. Anyways, that's a little suspicious. Okay, we got that out. We're going to drive out the race. I'm going to try to drive the race and the seal out at the same time out front. It'll save having to pry that seal out. A lot of times you can just drive it all out at once. I like to use a steel punch when I'm driving it out because it's an old race. I don't have to worry about damaging it. And there's some nice cutouts on the differential housing that gives you room for a punch. There's cutouts on both sides. And this thing's a little more solid than the brass punch. There went the bearing, there went the seal, there went the race. All in one easy operation. Now I'm going to go on the other side and I'm going to drive back the other race towards the camera. Same method. I'm gonna hit the tripod. It's time to press off that bearing and see how many shims we got and what the thickness is underneath this bearing here for our pinion depth. But our pinion depth was off, as we discovered earlier, so just out of curiosity we're going to see what we have here. And my source is calling for an OEM starting point at 30 thousandths. Well, this is pressing right out without even using a cheater bar on the. Boy, oh boy! Both of these bearings are came off way too easy on this pinion. That was way too easy. Oh, I forgot to mention, when you use one of these splitters like this, make sure that you have them going across like this and not like this, because you're putting all the stress on your bolts that way, and you could damage your tool. You bend those bolts real easy. But these bearings are coming off way too easy off of that pinion, and that tells me probably whoever installed these before must have hogged them out a little bit to save from having to fight them. Move the camera a little bit here. Oh yeah, sucker. Let me see here. Let me see here. Hit that with my hand. Way too easy. That thing should have fought a little bit more coming off of there. I should have had to use the little pipe cheater on the bottle jack. Yeah, it looks like someone had taken like a flapper wheel to the ID of this. Let me see if I can get this to focus on that. Let me try this way. Can you see those lines? Let me see if I can manually focus it. Well, anyways, there, kind of see them pretty good. Yeah, it looks like someone took a flapper wheel to the inside of this and hogged out this bearing. I'm sure they did the same thing to the smaller bearing on the pinion, because it came out really easy too. So that's not good. Don't do that. Press them on the way they're supposed to go on. Don't hollow out the interiors unless you're going to use them for setup bearings. But anyways, Okay, that didn't take much at all to get that to drop on, because someone already did most of the work for me, which is a no-no in my book. They were running it on that car like that. And that car is a high output car too. That car is between probably around 6, 7, between 6 and 700, maybe. I don't know. It's a supercharged LS7, I believe, and a 7 or an 8. I'm not sure which one it is. Hell, I don't know. Okay. This is Daisy, the shop dog. Keeps me company during projects. She wants a treat. She's got to work for it, though. Don't speak. Ah, good girl. All right. She lets me know when strangers are sneaking up on me. She's a good old girl. Got a face only a mother could love. Okay, we gotta make another setup bearing. We made the one for the bottom of the pinion. Now we gotta make one for the top. So, basically the same way. Uh-oh, that's not gonna fit in there. Gotta put a smaller flapper on. Okay, we're going to go ahead and remove these bearings, these carrier bearings. And we can press the new ones on right away because there's no shimming under here. So we don't need no setup bearings for those. That's the one we want. It's a pretty slick little puller. They work well. Okay, that's all set up. I gotta grab the right socket. We keep finding more and more problems with this carrier. There is evidence that the bearing spun. This bearing came off way too easily, and it has eaten into the side of the carrier here. There's a pretty good sized ridge there, right there. And You can see all these lines here. Grooves. This is grooved pretty bad. That bearing was spinning on here. The wrong part of the bearing. So I'm going to reject this carrier. The spiders have also, spider gears looked a little pitted. So we're going to go ahead and just put in a whole new carrier. You see that ridge right there. That's no good. Well, I might as well pull that bearing and the seal. Seeing as how we're waiting for a new carrier to arrive. That feels better. Bearing and seal, one shot. You get this at Harbor Freight. You get the slide hammer at Harbor Freight. God bless them Chinese sometimes. Okay, we're going to install the wheel bearing and the seal. And you can see these things are already pre-packed. Well, I pre-packed them. They didn't come pre-packed. This one fits good to get it started. We'll use that one. We used a tapered end on that race driver. It sits nice and flush around the outside edge of that bearing there. We're just going to start it with that one, and then we're going to switch over. Okay, I got it started, and we're going to drive it the rest of the way. With this one here, we're going to work around a circle like that. I don't have one that's an exact fit. I probably could dig through my sockets and find something, but it's not necessary. Just roll around like this. And that's bottomed out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the seal on there. I'm going to wipe off this excessive grease. The grease that got on the surface where the seal is going to ride. I'm going to put a little swab of some silicone RTV around the outside of that, just to ensure we're going to get a good seal, just in case there's any nicks or scratches on that surface there. Oops. The silicone's seen better days here. Kind of glued shut. There we go. Swab around this guy. Doesn't take much. That should be enough there. I'm going to put a little dab on the seal also. And I also greased up the back side of that seal real good on that spring to kind of help hold that spring in place. Because when you beat on these things, you know, and drive them in, sometimes you can knock that spring loose, and the grease will help hold the spring in place. Kind of like a little bit of insurance there. We got a little swab on there, and a little swab on there. little grease in there. And get her to start it a little bit here. Okay. You want to drive this flush. You don't need to drive it in and countersink it. Flush is where you need it. There's flush right there. That didn't take much force at all. Okay, but you want to do also, before you install the axle, you want to go ahead and put a nice little amount of grease on the inside of that seal there. That way that axle will slide on a little better. And then, you know, I've never torn one of these yet, but I suppose you can if you're not careful. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm not going to bore you with doing the same thing again. And, you know, try to keep this video, we shorten it when we can, you know. It takes so long to upload. Anyways, there you go. Bearing and seal install. This is an old pair of sweatpants. Get rid of that waistband. Gotta save them old t-shirts and clothes and cut them up for rags. We're gonna push it through again. Do another one. That looks a lot better. Time to drive in some races for the pinion. Looks like that's going to be about a good size to work with there. These suckers can take a little force. They can be a booger going in. I'm keeping the brass drift handy in case I need to walk it and steer it flat again. Sometimes they'll tilt a little bit. It's not the end of the world though. Flop that thing around here. This hammer's got a little more weight to it. Looks like they're a little tilted still. There we go. Looking flat again. Almost there. We're going to flip this over so we can put a little more pressure on one side. Alright, we're almost there. Just about there. You definitely want that race bottomed all the way. And you'll feel the difference in the hammer and the sound when you reach your destination. You'll definitely know when you reach your destination. That was it right there. You'll feel this. You'll feel the driver just bounce. It'll bounce right off of that race once you're bottomed out. And you don't have to worry about this aluminum damaging that hardened steel. It won't do it. It's gonna be just fine. Sometimes it'll leave, little aluminum marks on there. It'll be just fine. That's gonna work just fine right there. I'll put the little bolt in there to keep that driver from falling apart. Okay. That's it. Hey, when you get a new ring and pinion, they got a oily protective substance all over them, and you want to get that stuff off of there, especially where those bearings are going to go on. So at least you give them a little soak with some carburetor cleaner and give it a good wipe down. I always check make sure it says extremely flammable. That's what you want. Okay, our target is 30 thousandths as a start off point. We pulled a 28 off of it, and but we're either gonna add 2 to it, or if I can get a couple of 15s out of here, or get lucky and just find a 30, we'll go that route. Okay, we found a 30 thousandths shim. We drop on our setup bearing, and we have our other setup. It's going to go on this side. Just going to go ahead and put them in the differential and start the next process. Hey, when you're in the setup stage with this pinion, of course I oil these babies up a little bit. When you're doing your setup to do your pinion depth, to try to nail it and get a good gear pattern, get a good paint pattern going, you don't want your crush sleeve on. You don't need that on. That goes on very last. And another thing you're not going to need is you don't want to install your seal. Do that very last. After you nail that paint pattern and you go for a final assembly, that's when you go ahead and you put your seal in and you put your crush washer in and save the old pinion nut for setup. You don't want to put your new one on because it's a lock nut and you don't want to start driving it on and off with an impact or whatever and lose the lockability of it. So you save that lock nut, crust washer, and the seal for very last. Sometimes it's easier to do this part with two people so you don't accidentally drop the pinion. But if you're extra careful, you can get it by yourself. Just have all your stuff ready when you go to stab it. Now you don't want to over tighten this. Just tighten it up enough to take all the end play out and have slight resistance. Have yourself a little bit of resistance on the rotation. That's a little too much. See, there's no crush washer in there to give you the resistance to get the rotational just right. There we go. No end play. You got some resistance. That's what you want for your setup. Not too tight, not too loose. Well, it's been a few days and the new carrier arrived. I'll unbox it and see what we got. Yukon gear and axle. GM posi. 308 through 390. Dirt grip. Posi traction composite clutch. Sounds like the right one. Non-synthetic gear oil, this one. Okay, oh, looks better already. Okay, let's get these bearings pressed on. Let's see here. Gotta go up just a little higher with that. Hopefully it'll go up high enough without having to reset the deck height. I don't know if it made it. Ooh, just enough. Perfect. There we go. Get her centered. Do the exact same thing on the other side. I don't know if you can see that or not, but we see we got a high spot right here. That's why we're filing this thing down. And looks like a little one there and a little one there. I guess they get dinged around a little bit in the factory. There's another one right up in here. This one seems to be a little beat up more than most of them. Okay, that should be good enough. I'm going to double check the mounting surface on the carrier also. What I like to use is a heat gun. You don't have to buy a toaster oven if you already got a heat gun. You don't have to heat up the house or heat up the oven in the house, you know, and get the old lady pissed off. I just use a ring and pinion box, cut a hole in it, put in the old heat gun, and it works great. About 10 minutes. It'll be ready to go. Okay, that ring should be ready. Take off those rubber gloves. (242 degrees). Right up and on there, no problem. Come on, there we go. I'm gonna get a couple of these bolts started. I know there's no Loctite on them yet, but we'll get that. I just want to get this thing aligned before it cools down and gets stuck in the wrong position. There we go. Now we'll turn it this direction so it sits down nice and flat. It's going to cool down, and it'll shrink. It'll shrink and be on there nice and tight. Okay, this thing's cooled down a little bit, and it's holding on nice and tight. There's no bolts in it. I'm gonna lock tight these ring gear bolts. We'll get those installed, and then we'll do a little, we'll torque them down. That's good enough for that. Okay, we're going to hold that carrier down in the press there. It saves from chucking it in the vise and scarring it up. Certain carriers will go right into the vise no problem, like open diff carriers. They seem to go into the vise real nice, but these posi tracs are a little bit too round. Okay, we want 55 pounds. And, oops, I forgot to grab a socket. Be right back. We're going to creep up a little closer with the ratchet first, and then we'll get the big old torque wrench in there. It's a little bulky when it's in the press, so I don't feel like wrestling with it. I have to go around the back for that one. We're going to save you all this boring video, so we're going to cut this short. Okay, we're going to do things a little bit different on this one. Seeing as how the preload was so far off on the carrier we took out, and this is an altogether new carrier, we're going to disregard the thickness of the shims that we took out of there as a starting point. And we're basically going to put this carrier in, and we're going to fill it with shims on both sides, and then that's going to give us a working point. You know, if we fill it on both sides, usually you end up with zero backlash, and then you can start, you know, moving them the correct side to side. You'll see as we go. Well, I tried to slide that carrier back in with the shims that it was set up with before. the old carrier that is. But it wouldn't even work, it wouldn't fit, because such a gear change has a larger pinion head, and so the clearance wasn't even close. So we thinned it out a little bit on the driver's side. We moved it over a little bit, and we're going to creep it in there and see what we got. I'm sure it's going to have to come in and out quite a few more times. Backlash feels a little too much, and it went in a little easy, so we're going to need more bearing preload, and we're probably going to have to move this ring gear closer to the pinion. I'm going to throw a dial indicator on there just to see where our backlash is. That's pretty close to 20, so we're way out. So I'll be removing some shims from this side, adding that distance to this side, adding that thickness to this side, plus a little more to get the preload up higher. Okay, we're going to see how we're creeping up on stuff. Preload's starting to feel better. Might be a little tight. Five. That pinion might be a little bit loose, because that pinion is rocking just a little bit. I need to tighten that pinion just a little bit to keep it from wiggling around so we can get more accurate reading. I tightened up that pinion so it doesn't roll so easily. Looks like we're getting 4. Let me move this out of the way. There we go. Yeah, 4. We need to get more backlash. So this ring gear needs to go farther away from the pinion. Our preload's feeling pretty good. So what I'll need to do is I'll need to thin down this side, add that amount over here to the passenger side, the ring gear side. Okay, we've done some adjustments with the shims. We're going to see where we're falling the backlash. We're about 8. We're within spec. That's good enough to get a pattern check. We'll put a little paint on the gear and see how we're doing with the pinion depth. Okay, time to be a Picasso. I'm going to spin it with a drill motor. Now reverse it so we can put something on the other side of the gear. Let's see what we did. Okay. So you can see down here where it's tracking. What's good about using that drill is it tracks all around the ring, and not only can you read the painted area, but you can read where it brought the paint onto the teeth elsewhere. We'll roll this a little better here. Here's our drive side. We're pretty much centered on the heel to toe, and the coast side looks pretty nice. We're a little off center on the coast side. That's not as critical. Might be going a little deep into the root. Okay, we're going to pull this out, and we're going to shim that pinion gear out about 2/1000. I want to improve that pattern a little more because this car is a high horsepower car, and I want to make sure it's right on the money. I want to get it as good as I can get it. Well, we shimmed the pinion out 3/1000 of an inch, and I'm sure that's going to affect our backlash, so we'll have to check that again. Hopefully we'll still be within spec. Put these caps on and just snug them up. To check backlash, they don't have to be torqued to spec. You just snug them up real good, and that's good for checking a backlash. Yeah, 9.5, 10. They're 10/1000 on backlash. That's an acceptable pattern right there. That's very good. And we'll look at the coast side. I'll show you the back track on the coast there. That's just what's been tracking onto the gears. That's why I like using the drill motor, is it gives you more of a variety of ways that you can check it. You don't have to just look at where you painted. It'll track a lot better onto the other teeth. Okay, we're going to take the pinion out and get it set up for the final, put the real bearings on it. It just has setup bearings on it now. And no seal and no crush sleeve in there. Of course, before you press it on, you got to make sure your shims are in place. Don't want to forget that. And there it is, it's solid. Okay, here we go. I haven't oiled the sparing yet, so gotta get gotta pre-oil it. Pre-oil the other one. Okay, where's our seal? Help hold that spring in place, because you got to beat this thing in, and you can knock that spring out of that rubber groove. Not that hard to do. Another thing I like to do is put a little sealer, not much, just a little bit of sealer around the painted edge of the seal. Got that ready. Okay, that seal's all ready to go. Now what we want to do is drop our bearing in up here at the race, get it out of the way. It doesn't want to stand right now. Anyways, we gotta do a little breakfast work here. We're gonna prep that yoke. Little sealer on the splines so the 90 weight doesn't wick up the splines. You ever replaced a pinion seal and later on down the road you go, why is it still leaking? I just put a brand new seal in. Well, chances are it was the splines leaking. I'm just using RTV on this. Okay, got that. One more thing to do here. Grease that little gizmo. Okay. I got to get the new nut and the Loctite. I knew I forgot something. Okay. I'm going to install this seal. I'm going to put a little bit of this RTV around it, also around the surface where it slides in. Sometimes these things get nicked up over the years, especially on an older car like this one. People have been in there before, prying stuff apart and scratching stuff up, and okay, I'm going to start that with a hammer, and then I'll just put the seal driver on it. Get it started a little bit here. Okay. That's it. Wipe off that excess sealer. Don't want any death wobbles. There we go. Let's put a little bit of grease on the inside of this seal now. Alright. Okay, we have our crush sleeve on the pinion. We're all pre-oiled. That's all set. Time to poke this through, slide the yoke on. Before I get there, I better locate my washer for that. Gotta get my ducks in a row here. Not the nut. Where'd the washer go for the yoke? Okay, found the washer. Rubber mallet. There we go. There we go. That's good enough now. Okay, now we got to switch to a more powerful impact. Okay, our target for the inch pounds is 14 to 19 on the little bar inch pound torque wrench. I'm setting at 4 right now. Do not go too far. Big cheater bar. To give you an idea how much effort it's taken to crush this sleeve. And we're looking at about 4-foot cheater bar here, 3/4 inch drive breaker bar, 3/4 and a half. And to stabilize the differential from flexing around. To give you an idea how much effort it takes to crush this crush sleeve right now. 19. That's what we want. Now we can put the carrier back in and start buttoning this thing up. Well, here we go. This should be our last time in there with it. Our pattern was good. We got the pinion all squared away. Should be the last time wrestling this thing in. Hopefully. Every time's a different battle. Some Loctite. Okay, 55 pounds. Oh, 60 pounds on this one. That's right. Check these. Okay, boy, that sucker's on there pretty tight. Shame on them for putting it on that tight. They know I got to take this apart. Okay, you can see the end of the axle right there. I'll push it out and then I'll push it back in. There it is right there. The C-clip is going to go in there and then you slide it back. You may have to use a magnet. Sometimes you don't need a magnet to do this. After you get those C-clips installed, just rotate the carrier back around a little bit to where you can get at the hole. Make sure you have this indexing hole lined up with the bolt pin. Let's see, we gotta get that a little bit tighter. Okay, we're basically all done here. What's left to do is to put the cover on, fill it up with oil, make sure we add the additive because this is a clutch pack posi. It needs the friction modifier. Put our calipers back on and our wheels. We have a drive shaft to install. I'm not going to bore you guys with that stuff because if you guys know how to get in, or if you're confident enough to get into a differential and rebuild it, you already have all that stuff down, so we don't even need to waste the time on that. Okay, tune in. Tune in on some upcoming videos here that I'll be doing. We're doing a full hydro steering on a Dana 44. It's out of a Scout 2 International. I did a cut and turn on it, and we're also going to be installing an E-locker up front on it. And what else? Oh yeah, we cut the C's and we turn them so our caster will be 3.5 degrees, so it'll have a better return to center steer with larger tires. And that's going to be on my personal crawler project. Actually, it's not, well, crawler, it's an all-around Jeep. You'll see more of this one in the future. And there's a little Cherokee there, nice little workhorse, grocery getter. And a scrambler over there, that'll be a future project that'll be most likely being filmed. So stay tuned. We're gonna have some stuff coming up, and hope you enjoyed this video. We're gonna call it a day.